All right, welcome back to the Code Wolf. Today we're going to jump right in and look at the structured output feature that's supported by various OpenAI models. This is a really cool and powerful feature that I don't see a lot of people talking about or maybe not using enough, so I thought I'd raise some awareness of this really cool and powerful feature. As always, please remember to hit the subscribe and like buttons if you enjoyed the content. The channel is really growing fast and it's exciting to see, so I'd appreciate your support. I also want to give a special shout out and thank you to the two newest Delta Wolf members who are Liam McMullen and Techie Hank. Thank you so much. And thanks to all of the super thanks contributors and other supporters of the channel. So I've created this basic chat app that we're going to use to demonstrate this feature, and you will need an OpenAI model deployed to follow along here. I'll show you at the end of the video how to make sure you have the correct version or model deployed that supports this feature, but for now, let's just focus on this demo. And this is kind of the simplest possible chat flow. So we create our Azure OpenAI client, and then we have a while loop to generate that chat flow. And so we create a basic prompt here, and we send that out to our Azure AI model with this complete chat streaming async method. And then we print out the streaming result back here at the bottom. So this is kind of the most standard or basic chat loop that you can create. I have other videos on my channel that show how to build this kind of line by line, explaining everything. But check out that other content if you want more details of how to set this up and how it works. So right now, this app will generate a blog post for you. So it asks you for a topic here. So if I were to run this, let's just say .NET run, and it's going to ask for a blog post topic. Let's say maybe we're running a gaming blog post or something, and I'm going to pick a favorite game of mine. So maybe Metroid Prime is the topic. And you'll notice it gives us kind of this title and a description and keywords and the summary and so on. And that's because we asked it to include metadata about the blog post. So we do get this structure back. And then it asks us for another game. So if I were to say something like Mario Galaxy, some retro games here, it's going to go through and do the same thing. So we've got our title and our description, and we have tags and a summary. But if we look carefully at both of these responses, we're going to notice something really important. So on this Mario Galaxy one, we have the title, description, tags, and summary. But if we go back up to our original Metroid Prime response here, we have a title, description, keywords, and summary. And that's actually slightly different. So here we have tags, but up here we have keywords. And this can be kind of a notorious problem when working with AI models, is that these free-form responses tend to give slightly different answers every time in terms of structure or even content. And sometimes that's fine. You want that creative element to the responses. But let's say you're building a workflow where you want exact responses every time that share the same structure. Well, this loose answer approach can cause all kinds of problems. Now, the other issue here is that this is just structured as loose markdown. So if we kind of scroll through this, even though there is a general structure here, it's not JSON or YAML. It doesn't really have any formal structure to it. It's just giving us this loose text with some general markdown structure to it. So what if we want our responses to always have the same structure, and we want them in a format like JSON where we can easily parse and consume that data? When you're building AI apps or endpoints, it's often part of a larger workflow, and those other pieces of the workflow might want to depend on specific structure. So maybe you're building some sort of DevOps or deployment and build pipeline where your AI is analyzing something and reporting data. You want that data to be in a specific structure. Or maybe you're building a REST endpoint where the response is driven by AI behavior. Well, you want those AI endpoints to always be able to return the same structure so that the consuming app knows what to expect. Now, the structured output feature of these OpenAI models fixes all of this. So if we scroll down a little bit further, I've actually defined this class here. And let's say this class represents exactly what we want back from the model. So we want a title, author, date, and so on. Well, we can actually tell OpenAI to use the schema of this class to generate its responses. And so if we go back up to our complete chat streaming async, I'm just going to replace this with a little block of code, and then let's step through this line by line. So we're actually using a JSON schema generator from Newtonsoft. So in our project file, we're pulling in this Newtonsoft schema NuGet package here. And of course, we have our Azure OpenAI package as well. But that gives us access to this JSON schema generator. And we're telling it to generate a schema for that blog post type. And so then we take our JSON schema and we pass that along to the AI. So the AI accepts this chat completions options object, and so we can set the response format to that JSON schema. Now it does want this in binary format, so we're just using the binary data from string helper method to convert that to binary, and we give this a name of blog post. But overall, all we're doing here is converting that class structure into a JSON schema. So we're converting this into a JSON schema, and then we're passing that along to our AI and saying, hey, when you send back a response, make sure it's in this structure. And that's really all there is to it, as long as you're using a model that actually supports this feature like we saw earlier. So if I just cancel out of here, and I'll clear the screen. So let's say .NET Run again, and let's try those same topics again. So I'm going to say Metroid Prime, and now notice that immediately it returns something in JSON format. So we have kind of our opening bracket here, and this is hard to read. So I'm actually going to copy this, and let's head over to a JSON parser. So if I paste this in, I'll just refresh from my earlier testing. So if I paste this in, over on the right, we can see that exact structure of our class. So we have the title, the author, the date, the excerpt, and even our tags down here. So this is all very nicely structured. And you can imagine how some other stage in our pipeline could now consume this JSON. Or maybe we just have a REST endpoint exposed that can create these little blog snippets, and the consuming app can now always expect that they're in the right format. So if we were to go back to our app again, and it's going to ask us for another topic here. So I'll just say Ocarina of Time, so another game here. And right away we get that JSON back, and our AI is really flying here with these quick answers. So I'll copy this JSON one more time. And now when we paste this in, notice that nothing on the right changed except the content. The structure is exactly the same. So we still have our tags, and we still have our excerpt and all that goodness. And so whatever is consuming this can rely on the fact that the structure will always be the same. There's no more loose text, there's no more varying headers or varying structure. We just always have the same output. Now, I do want to mention that for this feature, you do need to deploy a specific model and version, which are defined in the docs here of which ones are supported. I'll include this link in the description. And this feature does, of course, work for both Azure OpenAI as well as vanilla OpenAI or the non-Azure OpenAI. I'm not going to go through the whole Azure OpenAI deployment flow. I'm going to assume you either know how to do that or already have an OpenAI resource. There's other videos on my channel that go through that, but I do want to show a couple details here. So if you go out to Azure AI Foundry and you go to deploy a model, so over on the left here, if you go under deployments, we can say deploy base model. And then we can choose GPT-4o since that was one of the supported ones, and I'll hit confirm. And I just want to show you how to pick the right version. So when you get to this screen, you have to pick the right model version that supports this. And right now that's 0806. There are some other ones that are outlined in this doc, such as O1 or 40 mini, but you just have to pick one of these using that custom option, and then you would hit deploy. So that's how you get an OpenAI model set up that will work with this feature. So I think this is a really powerful feature for building tools and workflows that rely on AI responses. And I really think more people should be using this in a variety of scenarios. Please hit those subscribe and like buttons to support the channel, and I'll see you next time right here on the Code Wolf.